And that's what's happening in Exodus.
Okay, fair enough. But I guess a follow-up to that is, how do you know like which gospel is right? Like Nazi Germany, for example, they were followers of the Christian faith. Yeah, they had problems with Catholicism. Like Hitler, very well known, he denounced Catholicism, whatever. But they were a Christian nation overall. So like when you have two individuals or two states that proclaim they know the word of God, how do you resolve that? Like from an existential point of view.
So the point is, your argument is based on a faulty reading of history, right? National Socialism did not claim to be Christian. Hitler did not claim to be Christian. Hitler believed in fate. He believed in destiny. But the ideology of National Socialism was about blood and Boden. Goebbels used to say, we know in our blood. So in other words, they were not appealing to scripture. They were appealing to a mythology about Aryanism. So it was a racial ideology. They made no claims to be Christian. And none of their practices would embody Christianity, as demonstrated by the fact that many Catholic monasteries, many Catholic convents, many Catholic churches, many Protestant churches, they hid the Jews from the Nazis.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And so the reality is that just because a nation has a Christian history doesn't mean that it's Christian. So it's a faulty argument to go, well, because of Nazi Germany, how do you know what Christianity is? Here's how you know. You pick up the Bible and you read it. And you read it in the light of historical church teaching. That's how you know what Christianity is.
Okay, a more modern example then would be the Rwandan genocide. Prosecuted on the basis of religious belief.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, it was. The Hutus and Tutsis, there was a fundamental difference with the way they were ordained by God.
Let me know if the time is good.
Missionaries that came over and settled. It's true. That was one of the biggest backdrops behind the Rwandan genocide.
The Hutus and Tutsis killed one another along tribal lines. That's what they did. It was ethno-nationalism that led to the Rwandan genocide. Christianity condemns ethno-nationalism. Not that a lot of Christians always remember that, but ethno-nationalism is condemning Christianity. Our identity is in Christ. It is in the one universal, holy, Catholic and Apostolic Church. It is not in our ethnicity. It is not in the fact that I'm Anglo-Saxon or that you're whatever you are. Yeah? The reality is, bro, that once again you're making arguments on faulty readings of history. There's only one way to assess what Christianity is, and that's to read the Bible in light of church teaching. That is the only fair way to assess Christianity. Yeah? Would you agree with me that there are good Christians?
Yeah, absolutely.
Would you agree with me that there are bad Christians?
Yeah, absolutely.
Would you agree with me that there are good and bad atheists, agnostics, Muslims,
Hindus?
Right. So in other words, we can't judge what is good, what is true based upon good people and bad people. What we have to do is look at the source material. And the source material of Christianity is the scripture. Have you read the Bible? Have you got a Bible?
I do, yeah.
Right.
Read it.
I suggest that you read it. And then come back with your questions.
Why he has a small haircut? He inside.
Just
Yeah.
ignore this guy.
Well, I respect it.
He was back from Hong Kong.
Come back to Christ, brother.
What's your name, bro?
He's got a gift for you.
Thomas, I want to give you a gift.
No, it's fine. I want to get from it.
Yeah, come on, Thomas. Get a gift for
Believe in
Christmas,
the
Thomas.
Catholic God.
For Halamas.
Hello, Mass. Exactly. Yeah.
Halamas.
All Saints Day and All Souls Day tomorrow. Like it's supposed to be.
Richard Dawkins' fictional world.
I love Dawkins.
Read it. Well, that was Thomas. Good sports.
Hey, you Christian, believe in the Catholic God. God and love.
Okay.
Go away, child.
Right. I want to try and give another talk.
Go on, Bob.
If he
See
interrupts, I'll
that.
just come and talk to him.
You want to celebrate.
Right, let's talk to this guy.
No, he's running like.
How are you running? Why are you running?
Stop running, you cowards.
Answer me this question.
Asasa.
Why does God have to say to Muhammad, that the angel that came to him was the same angel that spoke to Moses?
That's a good question.
Waraka did that.
That's a good question.
Why does Waraka say
That
to Muhammad
that
that the angel that spoke to him was the same angel that spoke to Moses?
why you say that? Answer.
Answer the question. Why? Stop running away from the
Stop running away.
You interrupt me every week.
All the time.
To debate. Now's your chance to debate.
Hey, debate.
Defend your religion.
I'm proud to be a Muslim.
Defend it. Defend it.
You've got a religious obligation to give me dawah if I ask for it.
Okay. Where is your car?
Why does Waraka say to Muhammad that it was the same angel that spoke to Moses?
Answer.
Question.
Have you been sacrificed?
Why can't you answer the question?
Why?
Why can't you answer the question? Why
Can you answer the question? Answer.
Why can you not answer the question?
What did Jesus wear? How did it work? How did it bow down?
You could answer it. Why does Waraka say to Muhammad that it was
It's the same angel.
the same angel that spoke to
Moses.
that spoke to Muhammad? Why does Waraka say that?
Yeah,
to
simple
Muhammad?
question. Simple question. Answer.
Simple question.
Answer. I got
Why can't you
benefits.
answer that question?
Angel spoke to.
Question.
What's wrong with that? What angel spoke?
Simple question. Answer the question.
We have two angels as well. Do you know that? No, we have an angel. You have
Two
an angel.
angels.
Yes.
Islam has two angels.
Oh my God. Every human being has two angels. One on the right and one on the left.
Not the
That's not a question.
What you're saying, your days
question
are
that I
written down.
asked
Two angels.
was why does Waraka say to Muhammad that it was the angel that spoke to Moses that spoke to him?
Yeah, why?
What's the point?
So here, what's the
Right, don't heckle now. Go away, bro.
He's spaghetti.
Why is the question so important?
So you're saying you don't know the answer?
I don't know the answer. Why
Right,
is the
fine.
question so important?
So I'll explain to you why it's important. This is why it's important. Because if you think about what happens in that story, it tells you that...
He's a poor.
Shut up, bro.
You shut up. You in my country respect my country. Yeah. You, yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, so
But this is in Sahih al-Bukhari.
so okay.
Yes, exactly. But if you think about the story, you can recognise that it's a lie.
He's a foreigner. He's not no English. He's foreigner.
So Waraka's Muhammad
Yeah.
tells an account
You
of
fuck.
the
He's
angel,
Italian. Buddha. Half Buddha. He's half Buddha.
right? The angel doesn't introduce himself.
Why I want to believe in Catholic God? I don't believe in
Runs
Catholic
back
God.
to Khadija.
Catholic Jesus.
Khadija hides him. Then Khadija takes him to her uncle, Waraka, and Waraka says, oh, this is the same angel that spoke to Moses. Now, here's the problem. How does Waraka know? What is the qualifications that Waraka uses from the description of Muhammad's experience to identify that that is the angel that appears to Moses? Because there's nothing in that story that would allow you to identify that it was the angel that spoke to Moses.
you don't know what Waraka knew about the angel when he did speak to Moses.
Right.
For him to be comparing the two stories.
Yeah.
Waraka knew.
You're a Christian.
Yes.
Right. Do you know?
Or was he a Jewish?
No, Waraka was a
The
Christian.
uncle.
Waraka was a Christian. No. Yes. So you're saying Waraka was not a Christian?
Look at me.
I am looking at you.
I'm not speaking English very well. I got your answer full.
Yeah,
You
go
know
on,
how
go on.
Waraka announced.
Yes, go on.
If you're coming with me, I will get all of those.
You stood right here.
Why is this question so important to you?
Right.
It's my question.
And answering that question,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
You've asked a fair question,
Yeah,
you deserve a fair answer.
Yeah.
Because if you think about this story, it tells you that the hadith of the collection of Sahih al-Bukhari is filled with lies.
No.
on the basis
You're Mark, Luke, John, all liars. All liars. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
He identifies
Testaments.
the angel. But there is no basis on Muhammad's experience for him to identify.
But you
that.
don't know what Waraka knows
Right,
about the
Exactly.
the angel when he approached Moses.
Two things.
You don't know. So
Two things.
how can you disapprove of?
Waraka was a Christian.
Yeah,
That's
go
the
on,
first
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Right? Right, you've got to prove it.
Okay, I will do.
Prove it. Waraka was a Christian. That's the first thing. Right? Secondly, Waraka is going off Muhammad's experience. He's going off what Muhammad says.
yeah.
And if you read that experience in the same hadith that I'm talking about, there's nothing in that experience that would point towards the angel that
You
speaks
still
to
haven't
Moses.
answered my question.
Yeah.
Waraka know
Right.
about when the angel approached Moses.
Right.
That he compared it with when the
Right.
angel approached Muhammad.
Yes.
For you
Yes.
to disapprove of it
Yes.
and say the Sahih al-Bukhari is all
Great.
shit because
Yes. Fair question, so let me answer it.
you had the chance and you didn't answer.
No, I did. You've asked
You
a
went
different
around in
question.
circles.
No, you've asked a different
Go on.
question.
Go on.
Yeah? You've asked a
Go on,
different question.
yeah.
You keep up with the conversation.
Go on.
Right? The fact is, Waraka, the only information that we have about the angel that spoke to Moses is in the Old Testament. Right? If Waraka is pulling information from anywhere else, he's not pulling it from any revelation.
what is
you
the
asked
information?
One second. You asked a question. It's now incumbent upon you to listen to the answer. The information
Yeah,
you
you're
have about
going
the angel
round the
that
bush.
speaks to Moses is in the Old Testament.
What is that?
Let me finish. Stop interrupting. You asked a question.
Old Testament
Let me
corrupted.
finish answering your
It's corrupted.
first question before you ask a supplementary question. That's fair, right? So let me finish. So the information about the angel that spoke to Moses is in the Old Testament. If Waraka is pulling that information from the Old Testament, then that means the angel that spoke to Moses is God, because that's what the Old Testament teaches. If Waraka is saying that the angel that spoke to Moses is the one that spoke to Muhammad, then that means that Muhammad
There's no
met
comparison.
God. Exactly.
There's no comparison.
Exactly, because Muhammad and Islam doesn't teach that Muhammad met God in the cave.
I know what you're saying.
You're saying it was the angel Gabriel in the cave.
There's no
and there's
comparison.
nothing in the Old Testament anywhere to tell us that the angel that met Moses on the mountain was Gabriel.
You're just repeating yourself.
Right. No, I've answered your question. Now go on.
Question. What was in the Old Testament?
Yes.
What happened between the angel
Yeah.
and Moses?
Right, so Moses is down tending his flock. He sees a bush that's burning, that isn't on fire, and he says he goes to investigate. He goes up, and it refers to the burning bush as the angel of the Lord. That's really important, right, for later in this conversation, right? But then, from the burning bush says, refers to himself as Yahweh, which is God. And gives his name as God and speaks as God to Moses. The burning bush, right? So Moses is encountering God on the mountain, right? He's talking to God directly on the mountain. He's not talking to Gabriel, because we both agree Gabriel is not God. Now, if Waraka was saying that this is the angel that spoke to Moses, then you've got a problem. Because if Waraka is saying that Gabriel spoke to Moses, there's nothing in the Old Testament to justify that statement. Nothing.
You're referring to the first day when Moses spoke to God directly and revealed the revelation.
Exodus chapter 3, yes.
And received the revelation.
Yes, and also in your Quran.
I understand.
To Moses
I
in the
understand.
Quran.
But when Waraka Muhammad doesn't compare, he didn't specify that day.
No, he did. Because
he
did because what
He just says.
Shall we get that out of the hadith?
He just says this is the angel that spoke to Moses. He doesn't say this is the angel that spoke to Moses on that day.
Right, 1 second.
So he could have spoken to Moses in other times.
Right.
Okay.
So that
يقول سووا زوم على
He
صقر.
didn't even say that. He just said
no, that's not true. You're lying.
Okay, so
I'll show you the hadith because you're making things up.
bring it.
You're both making things up. Yours is an ad hoc rationale, and yours is a misrepresentation of the hadith.
look at me.
The hadith
You mean
doesn't
in the
speak
hadith?
about that day.
No, look at
No,
me.
he does.
No,
the
listen.
hadith.
Not from what you've said to me.
Listen, right? So the hadith, literally, they go, Khadija takes Muhammad to Waraka to talk about his experience in the cave, right? That's the context of Waraka's statement. So when Waraka says it is the same angel that spoke to Moses, he is talking in the context of what Muhammad has just told him about his encounter with Gabriel in the cave.
I have a question for you. How is this relevant to the prophecy of Muhammad?
Right, here's how it's
How
relevant.
have you everything because
Yes.
a mistake was made by Waraka, not Prophet Muhammad,
Right.
or not the Quran?
Right.
Yeah, so how did you just
Yeah.
X the whole religion based on that?
Right, here's why it X's the whole
Yeah, go
religion,
on.
right? Because the reason why Muhammad believed that the angel that was speaking to him was from God is on the testimony of Waraka. It was Waraka that convinced him
So it wasn't,
that he was a prophet.
So it wasn't the miracle of seeing an angel. It was.
Do you believe that demons could appear to people?
I don't know.
Right, well, we do,
Yeah.
as Christians. So just because you see an angel, because for us all demons are angels.
I don't think you can see the in its form.
Well, Muhammad claims that you can. He says he looks like a rusty black man, but that's
Yeah, but you're not.
Yeah.
Muhammad is a prophet.
Yeah.
So
He's a man,
So he
just
has.
like you.
So he'll have more. Probably he was being exposed to more miracles and
You asked a fair question.
You're just an average human being where he's
But you asked a fair question.
We believe he went to the heavens.
You asked a, I don't want to move too far away from the point I'm making. Because your question was, how does this X Islam? I'm trying to explain why it X's Islam, why it cancels Islam. Because the
You
reason...
explained it to me.
Go on, what did I say?
I don't
did I
agree
say?
because Prophet Muhammad, off what Waraka said, is why he believed that was the angel.
Correct. That's exactly why.
So you've ignored the fact that he saw an angel and spoke with this angel direct, but he only believed that was an angel because Waraka told him.
Did Adam and Eve speak to Iblis in the Garden of Eden?
If I say now,
Answer that question.
If I see a dinosaur right now,
No, you're not answering the question.
no, hang on one second. I'm telling you what your argument sounds like. If I see a dinosaur right now, the only way I'll know if that's a dinosaur is because you told me so, not because I saw it with my own eyes. That's what you're saying.
Wait. Firstly, everyone can see a dinosaur if they want to. Just look at crocodiles and alligators and sharks. Sharks were there before dinosaurs. So if you want to see dinosaurs, there you go. I'm just going to give 3 examples. But that is not what I'm saying, and you've mischaracterised the argument. What I actually said was this. Is that because Muhammad went to Waraka, and Waraka lied to Muhammad, spoke erroneously to Muhammad. Muhammad believed that these visions of a demon, visions of a demon were visions sent to him by God.
This is not a lie because in the Quran it says that the angel Jibril spoke to all prophets.
Yes, and who told Muhammad that?
It's in the Quran, which is the word of God directly.
Given to Muhammad by who?
By God.
By the angel Gabriel.
Yeah.
Why did you misrepresent your own faith?
By God.
Stop trying to misrepresent your own
By
faith
God.
to me. But in other words, what you're saying is the angel Gabriel, who only says that I'm the angel Gabriel, who Waraka actually said was the same angel that spoke to Moses, and that's why Muhammad believed that he was the angel Gabriel. That angel Gabriel said that these revelations of the Quran are being sent by Allah.
How do you know?
Why? Wait.
Hang on a second. Hang on a second. How do you know?
Based
How
on
do
the
you know?
false
How do you know?
assumption-
How do you know
Yes.
that this is the reason why Muhammad believed that was the angel Gabriel because Waraka told him? How do you know that?
Right, because he...
How do you
I'm going
know?
to answer that question.
Yeah.
Because when he first encountered this demon in the cave that assaulted him and attacked him, which, by the way, replicates perfectly what Christians say demons do, and you see that in the Gospels. demon possession, they attack the person that they're trying to possess. When Muhammad has that encounter with a demon, he initially thinks that it is a jinn that is trying to possess him. And he hides from that jinn. He hides because he's afraid. He doesn't think that it's an angel. His first instinct is to say that it's a demon, that it's a jinn, that it is like Iblis, like the shaitan, who you also believe is a jinn. So in other words, Muhammad's first instinct was to think that this is one of the species of shaitan. And then he goes to Waraka, who in his ignorance, stupidity or lies, tells him it is the same angel that spoke to Moses.
So the angel Jibril was the one who revealed the Quran to Prophet Muhammad.
That is not what happened.
Right?
No.
Over time. I'm not talking about that day specifically.
Right.
Did the Quran, the perfect Quran, the 600 pages perfect Quran that you can't find the contradiction, that you can't find the contradiction and one that has many miracles in it, was revealed to God, to Muhammad, by a jinn or a devil, as you're claiming.
Yes. So what I'm saying to you is that the imperfect Quran that has many contradictions and many errors in it was revealed to Muhammad by a demon. And the only reason why you believe that it was revealed to Muhammad by an angel is based upon the ignorance.
Many miracles in there.
Based upon
Many miracles
based upon the ignorance of Waraka. If you read Exodus chapter 3,
Have you studied the miracles of the Quran?
have you
The scientific? Yeah, I have a lot of them.
Right.
Not studied them, but I've come across it.
So you believe sperm is produced between the backbone and the ribs?
Have you? I don't have the education to answer that question.
Exactly.
But there's many miracles in the
bet you
Quran
do.
that have been proven miracles by scientists,
No.
not disbelief or
Right.
given the X by someone like you
let me prove to
who
you.
hasn't even read the
Let me
Quran.
prove to you that that is also wrong. Because in the Quran, your Quran, that you're saying is perfect and without error, it says that sperm is produced between the backbone and the ribs. Now, you tell all of us, educated people, where is sperm produced?
I don't have that education.
Right, he's just admitted.
I don't have that education.
Thank you.
I'm not a doctor.
All right, listen.
I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist.
Listen, right?
But
Listen.
it has been
One
proven
second.
by
No, one
scientists,
second.
scientifically proven that the pregnancy is 7 stages, and one of them is...
One second, right? He's just admitted that he doesn't have the education to say where sperm is produced. Put your hands up if you agree with me that sperm is produced in the testes.
Everyone.
Everyone is better educated than you. And everyone around you is better educated than your Quran, because your Quran does not say that sperm is produced in the testes.
Thank you,
It says that
thank you,
sperm
brother.
is produced between the backbone and the ribs. Now let me ask you this question.
How does it get to the test?
Let me ask you this question.
Maybe it starts there.
No, it's produced
I'm
in
not a
the
doctor.
testes.
I'm not a doctor.
It's produced in the testes. Maybe
Can you prove that to me?
Oh my God.
Can
literally.
you prove that to me?
Right, I'm going to prove it to him. Okay. He wants me to prove where sperm is produced and where the sperm is produced in the testes or somewhere else. But let me just ask him this simple question first.
Ask it.
Where are the testes found?
Answer.
I think we've gone off track now.
No. Oh, wait.
I think we've gone off.
He's asked me to do something.
And
A scientific point that's kind of boring.
Answer the question, where are the testes found?
I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. You're asking me questions that are out of my league.
Right. He's just admitted, everybody, that he does not know where the testes are found.
yeah, he said that.
Put your hand up if you agree with me that testes are found in the ball sack between your legs. There you go. You get the education in basic biology.
Why are
Right.
you turning this into adolescent
Right.
ridicule?
Where is the
Why
sperm
are
produced?
we having a grown-up conversation?
We are having a grown-up conversation.
Very
Right.
good.
Okay. So, right. Hold on one second. Let me just find it for you. Look. As you can see from these diagrams, they are identifying that sperm is produced in the testes and then goes up and out of the erect phalanx.
That doesn't say that. Show that.
All right, you're still doubting.
Show the camera. What are you showing me?
I'm showing him literally a diagram of where testes is produced, but he wants to doubt it. Right?
No.
Okay.
What's your point?
What's your point?
It's an error in the Quran. That's the point.
You need to keep up with the conversation.
There's an error in the Quran. That's the point.
With the conversation.
Error in the Quran.
So-
You need
That's
to
the
keep
point.
up with the
So
conversation.
enjoy the show.
So-
Enjoy the debate. Go.
Show me a diagram, a picture.
Valid point.
Sperm is produced in the testicles.
Yeah.
From AI Overview. Right? AI Overview that has access to the entire internet says that sperm is produced in the testicles. Right? So now let me ask you this question.
Yep.
Let me ask you this question.
Ask it.
Are the testicles between the backbone and the ribs?
I don't know.
You don't know. Wow.
The area you're not understanding.
Wow.
You're asking me.
I'm pretty sure that you know that testicles are between your legs.
Yeah, I know that.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, he does know it. He just admitted he does know it.
Okay.
The first time, but where does the Quran say sperm is produced?
I don't know the Quran off by heart.
Oh dear, you really are in trouble today, bro, aren't you?
You know the Bible off by
It's
heart.
gonna become like Christian.
It's fair enough, you don't need to know the Quran off by heart, so let me show it to you in the
What does
Quran.
this prove?
It proves that their holy book does not come from God. That's
Let me show it to you
that's the
in the
bottom
Quran. Have you
line.
got your Quran with you?
You've
That is
just
so
you
perfect.
X the whole religion on the basis of Waraka.
Yes.
Not a prophet. Isn't mentioned in the Quran. Isn't mentioned in Hadith.
Yep.
And you X the whole religion.
And that's why Muhammad believed that he was speaking to the angel Gabriel, because of Waraka, who was not a prophet and an ignorant man.
Muhammad believed he was speaking to the angel Gabriel because he saw him and he had confrontations with him.
Right.
Yeah, you stick to Google.
Yeah.
Anyway, nice to meet you.
You look after yourself. You look after yourself. Right. So as you can see,
His point.
as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, Muslims can't defend their religion when you challenge them. Waraka is the one that convinced Muhammad that he heard from an angel from God. And Waraka says that that angel was the one that spoke to Moses. The problem with that is that the angel that spoke to Moses was God, and is identified as God in Exodus chapter 3. If, ladies and gentlemen, it is the same personage that speaks to Muhammad that spoke to Moses, then that means it is not the angel Gabriel. And if, ladies and gentlemen, Waraka is saying that it is the angel Gabriel, where is he getting that information from? What source is he using to identify the angel that spoke to Moses as Gabriel? Either way, Islam ends up false, ladies and gentlemen.
Correcto.
Gonna move over there. It's one of our
Let's go. Hit the like, family, share. Sorry, let's go. Hit the like and share. Don't be lazy. Hit the like and share, family.
Right, so any questions on that point? Any questions on that point?
Oh, I have a question on another
Do
point.
you want to come over and talk?
Okay, then have a chat.
All right.
Hello.
I'll give you a bit of time.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
It's a quick one. Look, I didn't come prepared for this. I should have brought my notes and I can bring the right.
Well, I'm clearly not prepared because I didn't know you were going to have this conversation. So we're all right.
Look, I'm just fact checking something. I already fact checked with Young Bob and one of Tommy Robinson's followers, which is a speech that was made at the Tommy Robinson rally on Tuesday, where the guy who led the haka, he got up and he made a speech where he effectively went, "We don't think that you should have freedom of expression of other religions in this country. It should only be Christianity. You should ban Mosh, you don't tell them."
Don't worry.
Yeah? Now, I think that was abhorrent. I don't think it was indicative of a lot of people on that march, so I don't think most of the people supported that idea.
Yeah.
But that idea went too far. I fact-checked with Young Bob and he said no, he doesn't stand by it.
I just wonder where you stood on that. I would hope that you support freedom of speech of other religions in this country.
Right, so ladies and gentlemen, I am not a free speech advocate in the same way that maybe Tommy Robinson is, or maybe some of the closer circle of Tommy Robinson is. I don't believe in making a cult out of free speech. Christianity doesn't teach free speech. Christianity teaches that there is a thing called blasphemy. Christianity doesn't practice free speech in our churches. You can't just get up and say anything you want. I do believe in a greater degree of free speech than, say, a National Socialist or a Communist does. I believe that people should be free to talk about any political questions and argue politics and argue about how we solve political, economic, social or cultural problems. But I don't believe, as a society, that we should tolerate ideologies that are trying to that blaspheme against our God, or are trying to reintroduce slavery, establish cousin marriage, establish child marriage. I believe that we should have some limits on speech.
Okay.
And that those limits should be defined by Christianity. So I'm not an absolute free speech person. Does that mean that I think that criticism of Christianity should be silenced? No. But I don't believe that you can just walk into a church and desecrate a church and then say free speech. I don't believe that if the state was Christian, that it should allow, where it owns the building, blasphemies. But I do believe that if you're not a Christian and you're in your own property or something you own, the state should have nothing to do with what you say. But if you're in a place owned by the state, in a Christian state, blasphemy should not be tolerated. So that's generally my position. I'm in favour of a blasphemy bill.
Has a special
Just ignore it because
sorry.
just keep going.
Sorry. I tried to ask you a very specific question. You gave a very broad answer. Fine. I just wanted to be clear. Would you crack down on freedom of expression of other religions in this country to the extent that they would want to advocate for peace in Jerusalem if they did it in a respectful manner, if they weren't inciting violence, and if they weren't misrepresenting reality?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
So if they were blaspheming in the public sphere against Christ, I would seek for that to be stopped.
Yeah.
If they were advocating for their religion in their own mosque, fine, let them do it. If you're foolish enough to get dragged into their dawah, you have my pity, but I believe that you should be free to have that kind of conversation. Okay. But if they were doing dawah in the street, and as part of that dawah, they were seeking to justify any or all of the following. If they were practicing takfirism, for instance, I would make that illegal. If they were calling people kuffar, I would make that illegal.
Right.
If they were saying that Christians believe in three gods, I would make that illegal.
Excuse me.
If
Do you
they
want
were
to film
saying
both of us, not just
you
one?
Christians believe in a Trinity and I
You're in my
don't believe
platform.
in a Trinity,
Okay, then
I
you're
think
biased.
the Trinity is false,
I am biased.
then I think fine, that's fair conversation.
You're in my platform, my friend.
But if they're lying about Christianity, then I simply do not want to tolerate people lying about the Christian faith in public.
Right. Okay, I'll kick back on that. If you're not going to let them blaspheme against you, then logically, fairness, you should be able to blaspheme against them. Yes?
Right. So the question is...
I've got one sub-point now, I'm sorry. One of the camera crews here
Said,
is this guy.
I run Stockholm Films.
So-called films.
In the frame. Stockholm Films.
Brilliant.
Okay. Well, he may be brilliant, but he's not brilliant to the point when he
Doesn't fund me or support me, but he is a good channel to subscribe to.
For some reason,
And Revelations.
For some reason, he only wants to film Bob and not show the actual debate, which I think is biased journalism. Hi there. So do you want to turn the camera so it's lip sync with me?
What happened to freedom
So
of
you can't-
expression?
Ah.
Freedom of expression.
What happened?
What happened?
What
He's
happened to
he's here
accurate
talking about free speech and freedom of expression, but now he's trying to dictate what Soko Films does. Of the duplicitous hypocrisy of these kind of universalist progressives.
Right, hypocrite.
I want freedom of expression, but if you don't express yourself in a way that I agree with, I'm going to condemn you.
Tony, go away, Tony. Go away.
I want to know.
Come back to the argument or move on.
Have another
Come
argument.
back to the argument or move on. Because otherwise I'm going to get on with my day.
Yeah, that's it. Bye, Tony.
You watch him edit this out.
Come
fine.
back to
So
your
on
argument or
blasphemy,
move on.
Notice how they are now dictating the media, which is bad journalism. Okay? That's not
Do your chores, bro.
9.
Blasphemy.
There we go.
On blasphemy. I made my point about media fight.
7.
Blasphemy.
Right.
It's all like the dictator, gentlemen.
You've got a real bullying style, you guys. Really a bullying
if
style.
they're not allowed to be rude about your
really
religion,
debate, is it?
then it's only fair that you're not allowed to
Enjoy the debate.
Right, so let me explain. Do I believe that Christians
They're real bullies.
should be rude about Islam? As a normative practice, no, I do not. I don't think Christians should desecrate the Quran. I don't think that Christians should go out of their way to insult Muhammad unnecessarily. But, ladies and gentlemen, does Islam and the God of Islam deserve protection in law?
No.
No. Let me explain why we should have protections in law for the truth. Because these are the tributaries from which we draw our values and our beliefs. And if we scorn them, and if we mock them, and if we subject them to ridicule, what you ultimately do is you poison the well that is feeding the soul. And a soul that is poisoned becomes filled with poison and becomes ill. And that's exactly what we've seen in the West. Since the rise of liberalism, Christianity has been attacked, mocked, ridiculed and abused. And now the West is ill in its soul. It is dying in its soul because the water from which it drank has been poisoned. And that is why God in his wisdom institutes a blasphemy law. Which is why I believe in a blasphemy law. But blasphemies are there to protect truth. Islam is not true and therefore deserves no protection in law. It only needs the protection of good taste, ladies and gentlemen.
The point would seem to be, correct me if I misinterpret
I will.
that you should have something of a double standard here where
No.
Christianity... So do you think
Islam is not true and therefore the standards are not the same.
Christianity isn't true either. You don't know those things.
No, we don't get to collectively decide what's right and wrong.
The gospel stories are fiction according to many people.
No,
I believe you're wrong.
You're just asserting that. You're just asserting that.
We're both just
You're just asserting
yeah,
that.
we're both just asserting.
Right.
The point is, the audience can decide. It's not about me convincing him or him convincing me. It's about the audience looking at this, saying, who's being objective, who's being fair. I'm advocating we should have equality of religion and a free speech and democracy. So whatever is good for Christianity should be good for Islam. You can set the bar where you want.
Except that liberals don't do that, do they?
It would seem I'm not a liberal. Okay?
Liberals don't do that.
Get a liberal and debate
Right.
them. You're debating me right
You're
now.
a universalist.
I'm a universalist.
Exactly.
That's a spiritual position.
Universalism is a spiritual expression of liberalism.
Excuse me. Do not debate me as a liberal. I'll be a liberal.
You're a universalist.
Okay, again, that's your opinion.
Universalist. You just said you're a
Again,
universalist.
I'm a universalist. Which
You interrupted me. Would you like to have a timed conversation?
I love a time.
Right. Would someone like to time us?
Moderator.
We need a moderator.
Neutral
Someone
third
like
party.
someone just we just need someone.
Why
I
would
trust
I-
him. He's fine.
Why would I?
He's not a Christian.
Okay. And for the record, Bob is condoning one of the camera crews not filming my face.
He's in favour of freedom of expression, but now he's condemning it.
You do know you're in video.
Then why didn't the guy just say so?
Because he was putting
I said, okay, fine.
It's more hilarious watching you throw your toys out of the pram, that's why.
No, from this
Right, we're going to do a time. Bro, are you focused?
all of them.
Please either just go away or stay focused to the conversation. Right, so we're going to do time. Do you want to go first or second?
Do you want to get a bit closer?
Right, give 3 minutes, yeah? You're right there?
Yeah, sure thing.
All right. All right, let's do 2 minutes, 2 minutes. 2 minutes, 2 minutes. When on his first word, start the clock.
I don't need 2 minutes, okay? I'm simply asking the question, does Bob believe in equal freedom of expression in this country for all religions? So whatever rule you make for one religion, you should make the same rule for another religion. That's a very simple question, okay? Now, when he answers it, I'd like you to pay attention to how much of the time he spends addressing that specific question the way I worded it, and how much time he then spends elaborating and preaching on a wider platform. I hope he will minimise the latter. That will be good conduct. He can use it to the best debate. I finished very early, off we go.
Right, I'll use up the remainder of his time.
Sorry, yeah.
How much time did he have left?
30 seconds. It was 30, so 2 minutes 30 you'd have.
2 minutes 30. I'll use up the remainder of his time and my 2 minutes. You're going to interrupt me the whole 2 minutes.
You're going to nick my time.
Are you going to interrupt me though?
Just do two.
Are you ready?
Please. Yeah, ready?
Go. So, ladies and gentlemen, I believe in equality under the law. That means that everyone should be judged by the same law equally. In other words, if a Christian blasphemes the Christian faith, he should receive the exact same punishment as a Jew, a Muslim, a Universalist, a communist or a Nazi who blasphemes the Christian faith. But I do not believe that all religions are true, which is the assumption behind his argument. He's assuming that Islam and Christianity are equally valid. They are not equally valid.
No way.
Christianity does not teach the reintroduction of slavery. Islam does. Christianity doesn't teach cousin marriage. Islam does. Christianity doesn't teach child marriage. Islam does. Christianity doesn't teach religious apartheid. Islam does. Christianity doesn't teach killing apostates. Islam does. These are not the same. Therefore, they cannot be equal. Two things that are different are not equal. His whole argument is based on their assumed equality, ladies and gentlemen. And so my argument is completely consistent. Because I am rejecting the premise behind his question. I am asserting that there is a truth, not lots of different roads to truth that we all negotiate together in our sandals with our ponytails. Right? I don't believe that. I believe that there is one truth. And that is the truth that faith.
I've been coming here for the past 7 years, Andy. You don't want to tell me how to do my job,
Under
Andy.
those doctrines and values, I believe everyone should be judged by the same law. And so if a Christian misrepresents or blasphemes the Christian faith in public or in a place owned by the state, they should receive the same punishment as anyone else. But if they do it in private property that they own, that is theirs, it has nothing to do with the state to interfere in their speech. So he can have the remainder of my time plus his 2 minutes.
I don't want to poach any time. I want fairness. I'm always for fairness, okay? I'll take my 2 minutes. I'm not sure I got the last thing Bob said. I may have to ask him to rewind it because I was so focused on the first thing Bob said. You can play this back and check. Bob's argument is fallacious. You can check it. His argument is my whole position is based on the premise that I believe all religions are equal. Yeah? And he's saying that because he knows I'm a universalist. Yeah? And I am a universalist. However, that is not the premise for this particular argument. This particular argument argument, my motive, my premise is I'm in favour of free speech, which means I don't think, for example, Scientology falls inside the category of religions I respect. I don't think Satanism falls inside the category of religions I respect as a universalist. I think the mainstream ones do, Judaism, Christianity, Buddhism, Islam, etc. They've all got enough good stuff mixed in with the dodgy stuff that they've got some real merit. But there's other bullshit religions out there as well. Okay? So don't assume that as a universalist I support all religions equal, because I do not. Nevertheless, I do think that a Scientologist should be allowed, a religion I don't support, should be allowed to come up and advocate for itself with the same latitude and freedom of language as any other religion, and then I would condemn it on a public platform and demonstrate to a watching audience why its assertions are fallacious. But you can't have those constructive discussions unless you let people express the ideas equally. It's a political point I'm making, not a spiritual one. But the previous assertion is demonstrably wrong. He should now retract it and realise that genuine argument coming from a political platform, not a spiritual one on this particular
should have more rights.
And also, I'm not using the level of ad hominem not using. If he wants to continue, he can. I'm not going to use it. But again, we know that technique.
He's appealing to a bunch of guys.
Finish early. My time.
Right, thank you. I'll have just my normal 2 minutes then.
Young guys.
So, ladies and gentlemen, let's be clear. The reality is that if you are saying that all truth claims should be on the same platform, you're working from liberalism. Because liberalism is what teaches that all religions should be treated equally to freely express. Why does liberalism do that? Liberalism does that because it says that they are all equally valid. An argument, the root of his own defence of free speech is not my problem. Liberalism teaches free speech for all religions because all religions could be equally true or equally false. All religions are equal in dignity, equally valid. All spiritual journeys are equal in their spiritual journey. That's his position, whether he's willing to acknowledge it or not, ladies and gentlemen. However, I don't agree. I don't agree that you can put a religion that is advocating slavery on par with a religion that is not. The reason why we should have blasphemy laws to defend the Christian faith is because the Christian faith is the truth from which we should draw to feed our culture, to feed our politics, to feed our economic practices, to feed our social practices. And so, to nourish ourselves with nutrients, we need to make sure that those nutrients are not spoiled by poison. And ridicule and mocking and blasphemy and lying about the truth is poison.
We on time?
Just make this bigger. Yeah.
We on time? Okay, fine. Again, rewind the tape. Bob just ignored everything I just said. I made it very clear I don't think all religions have equal merit. I thought I spoke in very clear English in a way that the audience understood, but for some reason it didn't penetrate to Bob's head, and he just reiterated the mantra that I think all religions are equal, which I do not. What I do think should be equal is everyone's ability to express their opinion in the arena of debate so that you can discriminate strong arguments from weak arguments. That's the first point. The second point, the ad hominem again, a little bit less, thank you. The argument that, for example, Islam incites some practice on slavery, etc., yeah, I already agree there's some bad stuff in religions. So there is within Christianity, and I will quote to you now in my time, Samuel 1, book 15.3, now go attack the unbelievers and totally destroy all that belongs to them. Do not spare them, put to death men, women, children, infants, cattle, sheep, camels, donkeys, and keep the virgins alive for yourself. Okay? So, as a universalist who has a lot of sympathy with Christianity and Islam, I am aware that within both of their texts, you will find some very detrimental things. I don't automatically conclude from that personally, now I am speaking as a universalist, that that they are automatically negative religions. I just think they've got to filter out the wheat from the chaff, okay? But I hope Bob will accept as a point of fact, Samuel 1, book 15:3 does indeed say that. It does, doesn't it, Bob? All yours.
Right, I'll have the remainder of his time and my 2 minutes. So 2 minutes, 30
2 minutes,
seconds.
yeah, that's
Right, so firstly, I don't want to get into a bitch slapping argument where it's like he said, she said kind of argument. But notice the passive aggressive put downs. It's a very middle class sort of sniping, snobbery way to talk down at someone. But yeah, he complains about ad hominems, even though there has not been a single ad hominem. There's been no ad hominem. Also notice how he interrupts. So if he wants to talk about decorum, I'll just leave those at his door. Also, he uses a poor translation of the text. It doesn't say unbeliever. It says Amalekite is what it actually says. And he used a deliberately misleading text. Because by using a misleading text that says unbeliever, it makes it sound like we Christians would justify that against any unbeliever. But it's not that. The actual text that he has misquoted to you says Amalekites. In other words, it was a specific judgment on a specific nation. It is not applicable today. And we Christians have this covenantal system that he has just ignored completely, showing that he's a very poor student of Christianity. Furthermore, he says that all religions have good and bad in them and we should just filter out what's the good and what's the bad. But who gets to decide that? Him? And based on what authority? His? No, ladies and gentlemen. This kind of universalist claptrap is basically trying to recast all religions according to the one true religion of him, which is the universalist religion of humanity. That's his real religion, the religion of humanity, which is connected to liberalism, which is the philosophy that he is drawing from for his free speech. The reason why liberals allow free debate between religions so that you can see what's good and bad ideas is because they assume that all religions are equally invalid. All religions are equally subject to rationalism and rational debate. And that's the religion that he's drawing from. He just doesn't recognise his own assumptions and assertions. I reject them, and so my case stands.
So, Bob, you'll notice he chucked in some ad hominems, middle class, blah, blah, blah. He chucked in some labels as though liberal is per se a bad thing.
He said so, you should carry on.
Judge Dan, he said, she said no.
Get well with the argument.
And interrupting you now.
But you were okay with interrupting. But you were okay with interrupting. Do you want to do with the interruption, or shall we stop next time? Would you like your next 2 minutes to be without interruption?
So Bob did.
Would you like your next 2 minutes to be without interruption?
Bob decided to take issue with what I said. Apparently, I got the word unbelievers wrong. I apologise. Okay? What I believe I got right was the assertion.
So you're going to take it out?
The prescription.
You won't quote that again?
Fine. No, I'll totally quote it. I'll just change it to Amalek. No, excuse me. I'll just change the word to Amalek. The words I was objecting to was the notion, I repeat, of do not spare the men, the women, the children, the infants, the cattle and the sheep. Now, I don't care what tribe of human beings they are, be they unbelievers or Amaleks. In my book, that's probably, not definitely, but probably pretty appalling behaviour, particularly killing infants, yeah? You might be able to argue, if you're really extreme, that women, men and even children have got to make some choices during their lives that may be held accountable for. But by any ethical logic I understand, an infant hasn't even yet made any conscious decisions. It cannot possibly be held accountable for transgression. Now that should be morally abhorrent to any reasonable thinking person. The fact that one would defend it on the basis that unbelievers means Amalek.
30 seconds.
Okay?
30 seconds.
That unbelievers is Amalek is just a disingenuous way of misdirecting your attention to the thrust of the thing. I repeat, there are negatives in a lot of religions. Also, I don't uphold the religions, I made it clear. Scientology and various other religions are clearly bullshit. Okay? I don't hold them with equal platform, but I think they should have equal free speech. so we can castigate them and publicly destroy them logically in good faith. And he says, who gets to choose? Me? No, you get to choose. He's making out I choose. You get to choose.
But except that he did make a choice. He said Scientology is shit. He said, what was the other religion that he said was shit? I think it was Mormonism. Satanism. He said Satanism was shit. Right? So, in other words, what he's saying is, you can't judge Islam as shit, but I can judge Scientology as shit, and I can judge Satanism as shit, but I don't think Islam is shit. Oh, I'm sorry. I think that saying slavery should be reintroduced is a pretty shit thing to say. I think that child marriage is a pretty shit thing to advocate. So why is it that he's saying that Islam is one of those religions that he respects? Because there's some good stuff in it. Well, funnily enough, there's some good things in Satanism, depending on which version of Satanism you believe in. Because some Satanists, some branches of Satanism are indistinguishable from Universalists. They're indistinguishable. They're just humanists that call themselves Satanists. And so the reality is, he is not willing to accept that the foundations of his argument is rooted in humanism. And he's using humanism as the touchstone and liberal philosophy as the touchstone by which to make all of his arguments. That liberalism, and I'm going to ask him this question. I want to ask him a question. That liberalism assumes that all religions are equally true or equally false. My question to him about his free speech argument, right, is why does he assume that in public debate we can find out what is shit and what is not? What you're going to hear is reasoned debate, rationalism allows us to identify. Yeah, go on.
I don't mind if you want to finish your sentence. Carry on.
That rationalism allows us what to identify. He will make an unconscious appeal to humanism. So that was my question.
Okay, great. Bob's question seems to predicate on a prejudicial view of the word humanism and liberal and universalist. Yeah? Correct. So these are prejudicial premises to what he's saying. Okay? I don't consider these to be negative, but it's not the point. Play the ball, not the man. I do not think, for the third time I'm saying, Bob, and this is on tape, I do not think that all religions have equal merit.
Not much.
Okay, I see whether you're on shot because I was filming his face. Even in his face, that's
there isn't a
because by YouTube, like a lot of live if you don't appear on the actual video content,
and we're on my
then I
do not believe that all religions have equal merit. Of which religions on any given point are probably better. I think Christianity has advantages over Islam in certain arenas, okay? I think in other arenas not so much, but I think we have to discuss these things in open discourse. If you've got a better mechanism, the job is to work out ultimately what do you personally believe? What are you going to stake your personal soul on? That isn't for me to decide for you. That isn't for Bob to decide for you. That's between you and God. Our job, I think, is to give you the best chance to make an informed decision with your conscience.
You can't tell me like what to do, man.
By giving the best rational arguments we can.
Despite the fact that
rationality will not cover the whole thing. You've got to go deep.
But you don't appear on the video, that's my point.
I know, but
you say you know, but you don't. So you want to push your own way of me doing my thing. So if you don't appear on the video, you still want me to not put the video that you don't appear in.
Your benefit.
Wait, hold on.
Right, I'll use the remainder of his time, please. 10 seconds. So 2 minutes, 10 seconds. Right, did you hear the answer to the question? The question was, why does rational debate allow us to decide to filter out what is the good and what is the bad? What is it about rational debate that allows us to do that? So we are seeing that why I'm trying to demonstrate to my friend is that I have correctly identified his assumptions. His assumptions are humanist. That's his real religion. And any religion within humanism can be good or bad, equally good or bad, depending on how well they adopt themselves to humanism. Okay? Let's move the debate on from the earlier statement. Because if you're treating all religions as the same, you are practically saying they are all equally the same. I am saying that they are not all equally the same, and therefore should not be treated equally the same. So even if you don't want to admit it philosophically, practically, it works out to what I've accused you of treating them all the same. So therefore, you are acting as if they are all the same. But you personally may not like Satanism. You personally may not like Scientology. But you're saying publicly they should be treated the same, whilst challenging me when I'm saying that they shouldn't be. And I am defending the premise that they shouldn't be, based on the fact that I actually believe there is a real truth. And that real truth is not humanism. And the real way to find truth is not in rational debate alone. Because rationalism always sits within a cultural context. It doesn't sit in a vacuum. It doesn't work in a vacuum. It was born in cultures and reasons and rationalizers from certain unsaid assumptions. And so it is not sufficient for us, I've got 2 minutes and 10 seconds. It is not sufficient for us to identify truth. We must use revelation, and therefore we've got to ask the question, what revelation do we use?
Okay. Bob has said, he seems to be implying I don't think there is such a thing as the truth. I do. And I repeat for the 4th time, will anybody watch this and notice how much is ignoring what I'm saying? Even though I keep saying I think different religions have different merit, that I discard some of the nexus in the value hierarchy, he still keeps falling back on some ridiculous platitude, which is that I still think all religions are equal. No. In terms of their metaphysical merit, their ethical merit, their teleological merit, no, I do not. That is not my point. The point that I'm making in this instance is political. He's turned this into a spiritual discussion. This is about politics. So let me just paraphrase this in a different way. I believe that the Conservatives and Labour and Reform and the Green Party and any other political party you care to mention should be given an equal platform to advocate its position short of incitement to violence. I would hope one would agree with that, and that is my reason for arguing in this case the same thing. For exactly the same reasons, I should let the Reform Party and the Communist Party get up and promote their views. For exactly that same reason, I think a number of religions, including those I totally disagree with, should be allowed an equal platform to get an advocate, so that viewers can make an informed choice and vote in democracy with regard to politics, and so with regard to the religions, they can stake their soul on what they honestly think is the best bet. That's all I'm talking about. And if you can't grasp that distinction, that this is a political arena right now I'm debating with it, even though I happen to be a spiritual universalist, well, I don't know how else to communicate that point to you, but I think your viewers can see I've done everything I can to communicate that very simple point. Now, can you kindly take it on board?
10 seconds. 10 seconds.
I'm done early.
So, 2 minutes and 10 seconds.
Does anyone else want to take over?
Yeah, sorry, 2 minutes and... Could you do time in 10 o'clock? I need someone to... Yeah.
Great, guys.
Thanks very much. Good to see you, Christian. Hope you're well. Maybe we'll get a chance to talk again. Yeah? You can quote me more of your essay.
Sure. Yeah, nice.
Right, 2 minutes and 10 seconds for me. Let's be clear. You cannot separate politics from religion. Your political doctrines will depend, your political assertions or goals will depend upon the doctrines that you interpret the world by and the values that you interpret the world by, and they will be based upon the metaphysical narrative by which you interpret your life and the world around you. So I am not wrong to recognise that this is a spiritual conversation. I do not accept that there is a distinction between the spiritual and the political. I wish he would stop asserting that I should assume as he assumes and that I should just adopt the presuppositions of his humanist religion. I don't. I reject them. And so I reject his description of this conversation. Furthermore, the conversation was about free speech, and I said quite clearly in political questions, social, cultural, economic problems, I agree with the the maximum amount of free speech. What I disagreed with is the idea that you could lie about Christianity or blaspheme the Christian God in public or in any building owned by the state. I wish he had listened to my argument, because on political discourse, let all the parties debate. But here's the difference. I don't believe, because I am not ignorant, that Muslims should be free to takfir one another. That Muslims should be free to advocate for the apostasy laws, or for religious apartheid, or for slavery, or for child marriage, or for cousin marriage. But he does. And ladies and gentlemen, he's making personal judgments about different religions. But he's saying that the state should treat them as all the same. And that's the point that's in dispute. Because I'm saying the state should not treat them as all the same.
Time. You're on time. Right. I don't know, Bob's doing the same game he did before. You can either clock that or you can't. I've done my best. However, he finally gave...
We are doing it for security reasons. Hence why Bob is leaning against the ratings.
Blasphemy against Christianity should be the same as blasphemy against another religion.
We are doing it.
If you want to have a rule which says you can't blaspheme
for
Christianity,
security reasons,
then you should be able to blaspheme another religion as well. I think that's fair. I think Christ would approve of that. Bob has raised a couple of points where I'm actually going to vaguely join his team, because I always try and be objective and I try and steel man. I have particular problems within Islam with the apostasy laws. I have problems with if they have ideas about child marriage. I think one might be able to argue that advocating for apostasy constitutes advocating for incitement to violence. Yeah, if we're talking about retaliation against people who've left the religion, and that therefore maybe that shouldn't fall within the remit of free speech. Okay? However, that was not the original way I phrased my question. The original way I phrased my question was very simple. Do you think that the religion should be able to advocate and promote itself in a way which didn't involve incitement? That was my question. And I'd like a clear answer to that. Okay? Should it be able to advocate for itself in a way which doesn't promote incitement on an equal platform with other religions? Even though I've already made it clear I don't agree with all these religions. I'm asking for the same political platform you expect for your political parties. That's all. You don't start, so I don't have to like the Reform Party, okay? But I wouldn't dream of trying to curtail some of the stupid shit they say in public. They can say it and I'll respond to it, all right? So Bob, short of incitement, are you okay with a level playing field for all religions in a free-speaking democracy? Please answer.
Right, I'll use whatever time he's left. How much time do you do?
5 seconds off.
Right, I'll have 2 minutes and 5 seconds. Right, so ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately he's very good at trying to suggest that I don't listen, but he clearly has not been listening. Because he comes and he captures these cameras because he wants to appear on camera.
Yeah.
But ladies and gentlemen, let's be clear, I said right at the very start of the debate that I do want a world in which no religion can blaspheme against the Christian faith. I said quite clearly that if someone wanted to advocate their religion, so long as they did not lie about the Christian faith, that they did not blaspheme against the Christian faith, they could do so. That people would be free to criticize Christianity if they said things like, I don't believe in the Trinity. I know you believe in one God in 3 persons, but I don't believe in that. And they should be free to do that. But what they shouldn't be free to do is say, you believe in 3 gods, you polytheist Christians. What I don't believe that they should be able to do is to take a Bible and desecrate it in public, or the sacrament of the Eucharist and desecrate it in public. I believe that that should be against the law.
Yep.
So clearly, very clearly, I have stated a barrier that is beyond mere incitement, but I do also include incitement as well, ladies and gentlemen. So he needs to listen to what I'm saying. But notice now he's introduced his own blasphemy law. His blasphemy law is incitement, and I agree with his blasphemy law. But why does he get to decide where the barriers of free speech are and not us? What makes his opinion superior to ours? Why does he get to decide you can say everything bar this, but we Christians can't say you can say everything bar this? Whose authority is it appealing to? I'm appealing to the authority of the prophets and the apostles and Jesus Christ himself, who he deliberately misrepresents continuously. Jesus believed in the blasphemy laws of the Old Testament.
Okay, apparently I'm inventing my own blasphemy laws. Bob seems unaware that incitement is currently in the statute against the law. Okay? So please note that he consistently makes really illogical assertions. Incitement is currently against the law. I haven't invented it as a blasphemy law. I think I've now asked him 3 or 4 times and I haven't had a clear answer. Do you believe that if it was illegal to blaspheme against Christianity, it should be equally illegal to blaspheme against another religion? And though he hasn't, what he has answered, play back the tape and check it, he's consistently answered what the law should be for Christianity. He hasn't answered whether it should be equal for other religions. Now that's a very clear question in English using very short syllables that I've repeated numerous times, and you fact check, just play it back and have a look and see if you actually address that. You didn't. Am I on time? 1 minute. I've got 1 minute. As soon as this is the last round, I don't know. Look, I like to... When I debate people, I try and find common ground wherever possible, okay? Because I think you move forward best when you can find things you can agree on. And I'm trying right now to think of anything that Bob and I actually agree on, so we can live in a hopefully civil and I would argue Christian life. Any ideas, Bob? How do we pose a standard of civil humanity? That's my question. I'd like to do that. How do we do that?
Are you conceding your time?
Yeah, I'll concede my time.
Alright, so I'll use whatever. Well, how long's you got left?
20 seconds.
I'll have 2 minutes, 20 seconds. Right, so let's be clear. I've stated very clearly, that I believe in a Christian blasphemy law. And I believe that Christian blasphemy law should be applied equally to everyone. So if a Christian blasphemes against the Christian God, he should be punished in exactly the same way that anyone else should be punished. The laws that we have are defined by the philosophy or the theology that we follow. That is what we are doing when we redefine the family to include 2 men and 2 women. When we redefine marriage to include homosexual couples, we are redefining the law according to our philosophy. So you can't separate questions of law from questions of metaphysics.
Love him,
That's
don't
the
you?
point. That's why this is a spiritual conversation. And theologically, I believe in a blasphemy law. And that should be applied to everybody equally, regardless of their religion. But I said very clearly, and he was not listening, is that Islam is not the truth. And therefore, it does not deserve protection in law. It only deserves protection in good taste.
Okay.
And if this man had listened from the very beginning, he would have picked that up in the first 10 minutes of the conversation.
Yeah.
But he was too busy being a patronising snob with passive-aggressive comments.
Check the tape.
I lost a lot of respect for this guy. I lost a lot of respect for this guy on the Tommy Robinson march when I was having a conversation with someone and he forced his way into the conversation. Ignorantly and rudely forced his way into a conversation where everyone in the group said that he was not welcome and he didn't respect their decision not to include him and he forced his way into the conversation.
Naughty.
So don't allow him to present himself hypocritically like some tolerant person. Thank you for admitting that he was forcing his way into the conversation, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for admitting that I'm not lying about you, and that is what you did.
Time. Okay, that's it.
Okay, he still didn't
Have a
answer
good
the
day.
question.
Have a good day.
Bye, Tony.
Didn't answer the question.
To be continued.
I'm going to do my own thing now. I'm going to.
Crusader
I lost all respect for you when you participated in that conversation. Everyone in that group said that they didn't want you in that conversation, and like the self-righteous ass that you are, you forced your way into that conversation, and now you're acting like, oh, I believe in freedom of expression. Now people didn't want that. Now,
defeat him.
now,
you got your clip.
that's when I lost respect.
That's alright, that's alright.
Because you're an egotist, you can't respect people making a choice.
We
They did not want you to be there. They did not want you to be there. I'm going to go on and do my own thing.
Yeah, let's move away.
Do my own thing.
Bob.
Hang on, passive aggressive BS. The mask drops, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, he does.
Mask drops.
He did.
Because this is humanist progressive liberalism. I am better than you. I am Mr. Tolerant. I am Mr. Inclusive.
You hypocrite.
I am Mr. Universalist. But if you don't say what I like, well, you're just a petty little person. No. Anyway, I'm not better than him.
Ooh, go away, Tony.
Ladies and
Time waster, bro.
I want to go on and talk about
Something more edifiable.
more edifying and more important than this. That's why you're still studying. It is Trump.
Yeah, go on.
I saw this. Did you see the video?
Your son here.
Right.
Bob.
No, I haven't yet.
Oh, they put up a video doing the Lord's Prayer with all the military stuff in the background.
Bob,
Yeah.
you want to start there so we can get you because of the light. It's
Sorry. Everyone's fixing that. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk about Trump's comments on Nigeria.
Yeah,
Let's be clear.
family.
There is a genocide of Christians in Nigeria. Tens of thousands of Christians have been butchered. So many Christians have been butchered in Nigeria that we cannot even identify the complete number. We can only guess at how many have been killed.
Ooh.
Two groups are primarily responsible for this genocide: the Fulani herdsmen and Boko Haram. These groups are funded by Islamists from around the world and from inside Nigeria, like the state of Qatar, like the UAE, and like places like Saudi Arabia. Ladies and gentlemen, the world has been silent about this massacre for over a decade, ladies and gentlemen. And I'll tell you why Gary Lineker and all of that ilk were so silent about the deaths of tens of thousands of Christians is because there were no Jews to blame. Because they were poor, black Christians. And we all know, to the eyes of the liberal progressive, that a white-looking Palestinian is more important than a poor black Christian in sub-Saharan Africa. But they are important to me because they're my brothers and sisters. They're part of my family, the church. And ladies and gentlemen, this victory that we have achieved of finally getting the Oval Office, the most powerful state in the world, to recognise the genocide of Christians in Nigeria, was not because of the sectarians that come to the park and attack other Christians. It is not because of the cowardly middle-class church leadership who were silent so they didn't disturb community relations. It was because of Christians like myself who for the last 10 years and more have been shouting at every opportunity about the butchering and the mass murder of Christians in Nigeria. And so I want to say to every brother and sister who ever raised their voice about the massacres in Nigeria and Sudan, congratulations to you. What Trump said and is going to do is the fruit of your labours, and may God bless you for speaking up for the voiceless, ladies and gentlemen. But now that the Christian church might finally have a champion in the sense of a nation state willing to stand up for the persecuted, Russia, you missed your chance. This is what that state should do.
Okay.
Firstly, sanctions should be levied against all individuals in the Nigerian state who have participated and turned a blind eye to this genocide. International arrest warrants should be issued for all individuals that can be identified as participating in this genocide. Sanctions should be placed against the Nigerian state for this genocide, and an ultimatum given to the Nigerian government that you will accept military cooperation with the United States to destroy the Fulani and Boko Haram, and to return all stolen land by the Fulani to the people to whom it rightfully belongs. And if you do not accept military assistance, then the American government will intervene unilaterally, to quote President Trump, all guns blazing, and will do the job itself. Furthermore, the American state should support the establishment of Christian militias in Nigeria to defend themselves, directly arming them, and if necessary, even seek the division of Nigeria between North Nigeria and South Nigeria, working to establish a free, independent and Christian southern Nigeria, backed by the full might of the United States. I'm coming to you. Finally, I want to ask this to our tyrant Keir Starmer, our great leader, Meiner Starmer. I want to ask Meiner Starmer why he has been so vocal on the issue of Palestine, but so quiet about the plight of black poor Christians in the Sudan and in Nigeria, where they are being butchered. Ladies and gentlemen,
for the block vote.
Why?
For the block vote.
Why? I'm going to come to that. Stop stealing my thunder. This is my speech. You want to finish it? No. I suggest to you that the reason why our great leader, Meiner Starmer, the tyrant, is so silent about the persecution of Christians in Nigeria and Sudan is because it conflicts with the narrative that they lie, that they are trying to tell you, that Islam is a religion of peace, and B, because there isn't a Muslim bloc vote to be bought by it. But by funding mosques, because some mosque got set on fire by another Muslim and another mosque got graffitied on, whilst ignoring 9,000 attacks against churches in the UK in the last 3 years, and by ignoring the genocide of Christians in Nigeria and Sudan, he does not jeopardise his Muslim vote, and he does not present to the British people evidence to the contrary of the thesis that Islam is a religion of peace, just like Christianity. Any questions, ladies and gentlemen?
I was going to say, did you hear the head of Blackwater try to consult the Pope about it before Trump hear about it?
Yes, I did. So Blackwater, I think think his name's Eric Prince. He is a guy who set up a mercenary organization, and he approached the Pope and said, hey, why don't you employ my mercenary organization to go and defend Christians in Nigeria? My question to the Holy Father is this. Holy Father, if you are allowed a mercenary army to defend you in the Swiss Guard, why can Christians in Nigeria not also have an army to defend them? If you are not willing to sanction and legitimize an army to defend persecuted Christians, then do the noble thing and tell the Italian state to dismiss its security personnel that protect you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year. Dismiss your Swiss Guard, who are all sworn to lay down their lives for your protection, or to keep your personal protection, legitimize the use of armies to defend Christians. As a head of state, you can sanction a mercenary group to operate on behalf of the Vatican State to defend persecuted Christians, and you should do so.
Maybe he already did.
Any other questions, ladies and gentlemen?
Maybe he already spoke to Trump.
Any other questions, ladies and gentlemen?
One. When you debating, which tape brother was it? Meant to debate.
It was never agreed that it was going to be a debate. Christian tape, but that's not on topic. Any questions on the topic of Nigeria and America's intervention in Nigeria and the situation in Nigeria?
What can we do to spread awareness?
Right, great question. Great question. Here's what you can all do. You've all got social media accounts. You need to fill social media with the story of what's happening to Nigerian Christians.
Reposting.
Be the voice of the voiceless is the most biblical thing that you can do, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, the archbishops and the members of the Church of England, so many church leaders, are cowards. Because they will not be the voice of the voiceless, and they are failing in their Christian duty. And Islamist dogs, like the one to my right, who tries to obfuscate about the butchery of Christians, ladies and gentlemen, are exactly why you must find your voice for the Christians of Nigeria and the Christians of Sudan. Any other questions on the topic?
What Indonesia is doing. Because your Quran says when you are in doubt, go to New Guinea, the Christian.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen. It's not just Nigeria. It's not just Sudan. The Indonesian state right now is persecuting the poor black Christians of East Timor. East Timor is a country under Indonesian oppression. When will the world come to their assistance? I pray a blessing upon President Trump. I pray that he has the courage of his convictions. And I ask Hungary, Poland, and all Christian countries around the world to rally to the side of Trump in establishing a Holy League, an international alliance of Christian states that will use the full might of their military to defend persecuted Christians from Islamist militants around the world, and also other nations that persecute the church. Any other questions, ladies and gentlemen, on the topic? Going once, going twice, going 3 times. Okay, do you want to talk, Billy?
I forgot to send you an email.
You did?
I did forget.
When's that happening?
So I can do it now. I can send you my email.
Yeah, send us an email. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, any questions about any aspect of the Christian faith? Now's your chance. Going once. Right, actually it's a good question given the period that we're in right now. I do believe in the intercession of saints. I also believe that the scriptures teach the intercession of saints. You look at Revelations, the saints under the throne of heaven say to God, "How long, O Lord? How long before you give us justice?" That is intercession right there for one another. They're interceding for justice under the throne of God to heaven. So that is the Bible teaching the intercession of saints. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there is a dispute amongst Christians whether the saints on earth can be heard by the saints in heaven. But that debate is irrelevant to whether the saints in heaven are actually interceding for the saints on earth. The debate about whether the saints in heaven can hear the saints on earth is a secondary matter. It's not the most important question we should be concerned about. What we should be concerned about is establishing the kingdom of God and bringing people to the worship of the divine Trinity and bringing people to salvation by accepting our Lord Jesus Christ as their Lord and Saviour because of what he did on the cross and his resurrection.
Amen.
Any other question about any aspect of the Christian faith?
Can you talk about the beginning of the big Israel, Grand Israel?
I'm so sorry.
The beginning of the big Israel.
The big
Beginning.
Of the big Israel.
The
beginning, the debut
of
the big Israel.
the big Israel.
Yeah. Like
What's the big Israel?
oh, it's like the country.
Greater Israel.
Jordan.
Oh, Greater Israel.
Greater Israel. Okay.
Greater Israel. Okay.
The Nile to the Euphrates.
Yeah, so in Scripture, God promises land to the people of Israel. Incidentally, for Muslims, your Quran says that your God promised the land of Israel to the Israelis.
Yeah, children of
Right?
Israel.
Surah Al-Ma'idah. So if you're saying that Israel doesn't belong to the Jews, you're arguing against your own God.
Yeah.
But the Bible also distinguishes the geography of Israel. And it's bigger than the current state of Israel, ladies and gentlemen. This is a prophecy of the land of Israel, the land that the Jews will inhabit. And so I believe in all the boundaries that the Jews were promised to settle, they should be allowed to settle. But that does not mean that they should be able to achieve that end through any means, or that they should be able to achieve that as a nation state. Believing in the promises of God and believing that the certain land belongs to the Jewish nation does not equal support for the nation of Israel. The nation state of Israel is a liberal, modernist construct. The nation of Israel existed before the state of Israel. And the land that was promised to them belongs to them. But that doesn't mean they get to organise it necessarily in a state, just means they get to live there. Now, do I support Israel as a state? Yes. Why? Because Israel is fighting the enemies of the church. Hamas, Hezbollah, the Iranian Islamic Republic, the Islamists in Yemen. These people, like the Muslim Brotherhood, persecute Christians. And any group that destroys these persecutors of Christians has my support. Next question on any topic about the Christian faith. Go on.
I think there is in Jewish state in this country.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, The reason why there's such confusion is because education in our society is low. Don't believe me? Just go and speak to any progressive who confuses legitimate criticism of Islam with racism, as if criticising a religion is being racist against an ethnicity. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a lack of fine thinking in Western society in which we have forgotten how to use terms discreetly as nuanced packages of information. The word Muslim is not the same as the word Islam for a reason. Religion is not the same as race for a reason. And so, ladies and gentlemen, the reason why you get confused debate in our country is because we've gone through an education system that permits and rewards sloppy thinking, the use of sloppy categories that lack definition and clarity. If we want to think through in our society complicated issues, we need to learn to think in nuanced ways again. That's not just a criticism of the left, by the way, because people on the right do the same. They talk about all Muslims as if they're the same, or all Jews as if they're the same. And they also confuse Muslims with Islam and Jews with Judaism. And they also confuse Zionists with Jews. Sloppy thinking exists across the entire political spectrum. Everybody's guilty of it.
Yeah.
And we would all do better if we thought a little more sharply. And no one needs to have their pencil sharpened more than the Islamists in this park, who can't understand Trinity from polytheism. Ladies and gentlemen, any other questions on any aspect of the Christian faith? Going once. Start with Matthew, then read a psalm, then read an epistle of the apostles, then read another psalm, and then read one of the prophets, and then repeat and go to another gospel. Any other questions on any aspect of the Christian faith? I've got a question for you, sir. I've got a question for you, sir.
And you stop making...
Why did Waraka...
I'm planning
Okay, family, we might need to
I've got a question for any Muslim here.
ask.
Why does Waraka say to Muhammad that the angel that spoke to him was the angel that spoke to Moses? Simple question. Why does Waraka make that claim?
Yes, because it's artificial intelligence.
Nope, no answer.
Nothing.
Cat got your tongue? Southern experts on Christianity but can't answer a question about Islam.
Hey, family, we might
I bet
need
you've got a bunch of
to
questions
switch off
about
the live stream.
Christianity and a bunch of arguments about
It's
it.
been almost 2 hours or 1 hour and 35 minutes.
So why does
Unless you guys want us to carry on.
Waraka
Make sure you guys like and share.
Why does Waraka say to Muhammad that the angel that spoke to Moses was the one that spoke to Muhammad?
I don't know very much. From my understanding, he had some education in Christian and
Right, hold on 1 second. If Waraka had education about Christianity, he would know that Christians don't say that an angel like Gabriel spoke to Muhammad. Christians say that God spoke to Moses. Now, the point is, your Quran also says the same. God spoke to Moses from the burning bush, not an angel. So neither the Quran nor the Old Testament teach that an angel spoke to Moses. But yet Waraka is saying that the angel Gabriel was the angel that spoke to Moses. So that doesn't make any sense. I agree, doesn't it? Thank you. There you go.
Run away. That was
I don't have education, so I don't understand.
Neither do Waraka.
Yeah, I don't know very much. I had more education into it, I'll come back.
Right. Feel free to support one another. This is an open conversation. I put it to you. So the original question is this. So in the hadith, Muhammad has the experience of the cave, right? Goes to his wife Khadija, and then Khadija takes him to Barakah, and the Barakah says, surely this is the angel that spoke to Moses who now speaks to you. My question is, why does Barakah say that? And here's the reason why. Nothing in the Quran that comes later suggests that it's the angel Gabriel who spoke to Moses. Nothing in the Old Testament says that it's the angel Gabriel that spoke to Moses. So where is Barakah getting this information from?
I don't want to represent myself personally with the man.
That's fair. Yeah. Right. But let me explain to you why this is a problem. It's a problem for two reasons. The first reason is that it is because of Barakah that Muhammad believes that the angel that is speaking to him is from God, rather than, as he first suspected, a demon. As his first suspicion was a jinn, a shaitan, of the species of shaitan. But his instinct is overridden on the testimony of Barakah. So that's the first problem, right? Because Muhammad was convinced on the testimony of Barakah, and Barakah was not evidentially on what he said, both by what the Gabriel told Muhammad and what the Old Testament said. The second problem is this, and a much deeper problem is this, is that this hadith this argument demonstrates that the hadith is actually made up. It's being made up 100 years after Muhammad. It's being made up to speak to a Christian audience, to try and couch Muhammad as a continuity of previous prophets. In other words, it's propaganda. Yeah, sure, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, fair. I'll take you with you. Right. So one of the reasons that indicate that this hadith is fabricated is because remember, Muhammad is an ignorant man. He's an unlettered man. Right? He hasn't read the previous scriptures. He can't read according to the Islamic narrative. It's sin, standard Islamic narrative. Now, for Barakah to say, well, this was the angel that spoke to Moses, that assumes that Muhammad knows about the angel that spoke to Moses. But one of the defences that Muslims always employ about why Muhammad is not copying from Jews and Christians is because he was an unlettered prophet. So it makes no sense for Barakah to talk to Muhammad as if Muhammad knew. Now that means that the hadith is not being produced on a true telling of a historical event because it assumes that everybody knows the story. In other words, it is actually written for a Jewish Christian audience because they know the story of Moses. But the people that write it, they don't understand that if you actually read Exodus 3, it's God that speaks to Moses. And in the Quran, it's God that speaks to Moses. So Barakah has no basis for saying that the angel, sorry, my apologies, has no basis for saying that the angel Gabriel spoke to Muhammad. So if the hadith is true, Islam is false. If the hadith is false, then Sahih Bukhari is false, which means Islam is also false.
Yeah, I have a bit of a is this can I get your channel name?
Yes, of course.
Because then I can watch it back and I can understand what you're saying.
I'll go through it step by step.
I'm in a rush. But,
are you needing to go?
Yes, I am.
Okay, but because you were very fair-minded and reasonable and very sincere, I want to give you a gift.
Yeah.
So I'd like to give you a Bible. Your bag's not big enough to take everyone. There you go. Little gospel to get started. Very nice to speak with you. You have a lovely day. Thank you very much for being sincere and fair.
Well done, Bob.
Have a good day. God bless.
remember when I was scouting,
For the time being, we're going to make all these videos public from the beginning.
and the first place they went to conquer Jerusalem, which is ruled by the Byzantines.
And yeah, we're going to continue
Competent society
so thank you all for joining us. Thank you to the mod.
Because I don't know if you've heard of it. He done some fantastic
Yeah,
work.
thank you all too for
So
doing the
they
live
didn't
stream.
actually have a name.
We might go live.
They didn't have a name. They didn't have a name for the religion. They described themselves as being the believers. Saying it was. In fact,
Take it from
one of the first things they done was they started praying on the Temple Mount.
All Saints
And the
Day.
Christians of the Byzantine Empire,
Yeah, thank you for this. Take care.
they first suspected it was some sort of Jewish conspiracy. They had no idea this was a new religion or anything. They thought it was a Jewish